I say let's go back to using whiteboards, just right.
Yeah, well, what about a chalkboard? That would be really cool.
Just for the sake of the fact that it's working, I'll
You
refrain
got
from screen
this?
sharing what you guys need is in the packets, so.
Okay. And at the end, you just said, oh, you're good.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, I like Jason.
All right. Let's call our meeting to order with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so Mitchell sent over the minutes. And I forwarded them to everyone. Did everyone receive those? You have a copy in your packet. I'm gonna give you a minute to go through these. Like Mitchell, right? Or Mitch? I just called you like your mother. Just realized it.
Like Joe Aaron.
You guys see any corrections that you need?
Did she pull her, her application to be on board?
I don't. So I don't believe she ever formally submitted it. My understanding based on my conversation with her that it was that someone from the town board had reached out to her and asked if she would be interested. And then I met her at a chamber meeting. I guess I knew her when I was a little girl, but I hadn't seen her since then. And met her there and she said, oh, you're on the board. And I said, yes, you should come and visit if you're interested, because she mentioned that she may be interested. So I don't know if she ever formally submitted. Didn't they vote yesterday on, hi Rachel? I believe, didn't they vote yesterday on, oh, it was not voted for yet, who's going to be on our board? Okay.
Yeah, I think she, told one of the council members she wasn't interested in doing
Oh, okay,
it, and we decided to wait for the new year to.
okay. So she seemed very interested and very nice, so it's a shame, so. Did you want the minutes to read the Kathy Hunt?
Okay. You gotta be a speed reader.
Yeah. Or better read them in your email.
Good.
Okay, do you want a minute to read them? Sure, did you?
I read.
You did, okay. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Do we have a second?
Okay.
All in favor? Unanimous. All right, so next up we have COA review, 01-225, 330 Main Street, version 3, for renew consideration. And then there were new materials submitted following the November 25th HPC session. Thank you to Rita for also working with the bond distils, and I forget your name, I'm sorry, Tommy, and Tommy, their contractor is good as well. Do you want to go over?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what has been submitted since, we last met, is contained within your notes this evening. I generously printed all those off for you guys. So you'll see, two major documents in there. Number one is, with regard to the siding, that was discussed last month. This had been previously quoted as a corrugated metal siding on the structure. This has now been revised to a Sherwin-Williams product, an LP engineered wood siding, as well as a color that tends to go with the house, as I would argue. You'll see as well the trim boards, the outside corners, they're shown in that document. And as well, the wood mounting blocks that they have supplied. Let's see here, I'm trying to think, I believe everything there, at least at rough check, was a sandy clay color, so that sort of beige or light brown color you see there, mentioned. And then as well, and of course, we've got the full material schedule, and it's again, very much appreciated. And below that, for your aesthetic and visual consideration, would be the dark roofing shingles that would also be used on the structure. Now, Tommy and I had a bit of a sidebar just prior to talk about the doors that would be used in this case. And the doors in the instance here, sorry, I know Rita and I had gone over that, our email as well. And it was mentioned that the overhead doors, so the 10-foot overhead door, OH1, what's he called out, would be at the very least a fiberglass door, or more likely a steel door, insulated in any manner. And that, as you would see within the pre-approved materials on our new construction chart within the guidelines, are both approvable. Okay, obviously they're pre-approved. So that's something that, it's not a vinyl door, it's not going to be non-insulated. It'll be something that should correspond with the requirements. Let me take a look once more. As well, I should note that the standards, this is what I wanted to make sure I was getting correctly verbatim, quote, aluminum clad wood window systems or composite non-vinyl wood systems in colors approved by the commission are allowable, or if they are in following other aspects of the standards as well. So the aluminum windows that are quoted should be, in this case, for new construction at least, permissible as well. At least I would argue that. Certainly that's for you all to deliberate on. Trying to think if there's any component, that has not been covered in this. The siding, again, I want to make certain that it's on the record that, the wood composite or LP Smart Side siding is in that list of pre-approved materials within new construction as well. So again, that should arguably meet, our, considerations as well. Just so everybody is aware, and so it's on the record as well, that's residential standards for new construction, that's pages 26 to 27. For site projects, new construction is 40 to 42, and then page 105 for the additional information within the current standards. The only remaining concern, as we've discussed, previously, would be the sliding, door that's present as well. So you notice the one has an overhead door, the other, is an aluminum clad sliding door that is on the back side, as it was shown cited, of the project. That would be essentially something for you all to deliberate on to see if you feel that an aluminum clad sliding door is acceptable. Again, I'll remind you that steel and fiberglass doors, have a similar aesthetic and are generally within that pre-approved list. So that may be something that you guys want to discuss amongst yourselves, but
So these doors that we're talking about, they are on the pre-approved list.
in terms of the overhead door, so long as it is of steel or fiberglass, that would be pre-approved. The siding being the LP Smart Side, that would be a pre-approved material. I believe, remind me the man door on that, or the.
That's steel.
No, so that's a steel door, so that your main door, your 36 by 80 door, that's gonna be a steel door. What we're discussing, the only kind of question that's left is the sliders
Sliding.
that are,
Are you like a patio door, like a glass?
no, this is.
Like a barn door?
It's like a barn door, yes, yep. And that is gonna be constructed of, according to,
It's on the back facing the alleyway from Main Street.
away from the, yeah. Take a look here and see if I can find a. Oh, wow, that's schematic. I can certainly find you a picture, I'll put it that way, let's see here. So the back side, just for everybody's reference.
Why we're having IT issues.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I see what you're
sorry.
saying. And then,
That's the alley side, correct?
That is,
No,
no,
that,
that
That's
was
the yard side.
the yard side, yes, yeah.
the
We,
yard side
So
facing
makes it the house.
Main Street.
Tommy has mentioned in discussion prior that it's possible that they could clad that with, say, plywood backer, an OSB backer, and use the LP Smart siding on those doors as well. That would present a bit more contiguous look from the siding through the doors to the other side of the barn. It's not something you said you've commonly done before.
no, I just want to make sure it's not too much weight because you have to pull them and the aluminum or the metal, and when you do the metal, it's just a board and then the metal, so they're a lot easier to pull back and forth.
Yeah.
It's not too much weight.
It is, I'm sorry, yeah, so in the description they had in the construction drawings last month, it blends here because it's shown with the corrugated metal. But if you meant, you've got just the doors there, and then your LP Smart Side would go counter to the corrugated, yeah, so.
So the siding is going horizontal, not vertical.
The siding would be going horizontal, yes,
Okay.
yes, as you would have, lapping on a house or any other structure, so. Yeah, I know we're having a bit of technical difficulty, I don't wanna risk messing up our live stream.
So if you stepped out of those doors, you see the back of the house essentially.
Yes.
So how far is that building from, remind me?
From the back of the house or from, let me take a look at the site
There's a
map. here.
shed in between those. It's about, I think it's 5 or 6 feet from the shed.
Okay.
I didn't measure off the house. I'm not sure how far
I'm
that
just
is.
curious, like visually from.
Really, from standing on Main Street, I believe you would see that, right? That sliding door.
Maybe not when they're closed because the shed's there. If you'd maybe see the one side open, if it's opened up from Main Street. But it's got that shed sitting in front of it where the doors are gonna be here.
Okay, the shed kind of blocks it.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a little taller, but it's not gonna be taller than the height of the shed of the doors.
And Mitch, you said that that's not really approved material. The approved material would be a steel or a vinyl?
Steel or fiberglass. Yeah, vinyl is the only thing that is really the major component that's not called out as an approved material.
Or the
So,
option, of putting engineered wood over it, like he suggested he may.
yes, you could do that as well. If you wanted a continuous look and you wanted to, require the LP Smart side over the skin of the door, the sliding doors, then that could be done as well. Another thing we discussed, I don't think it's engineered currently in these, construction drawings at least, would be the use of another overhead door. So one on each side's, alley and, home, but I don't think it's engineered to go that way currently, correct?
We would just have to change header heights.
Okay.
What would be the implications of the cost for them to have to change that?
For the door,
Uh,
in that list there, it has,
Yeah.
I think it has the price actually, I think it was about $7,000 for the door. I think, it's been a while since I've looked at all of it, but
I don't know that the construction drawings I received had a pricing schedule, it was just a material schedule.
maybe.
So that may be something that you have.
It wouldn't be on these two.
It'll be on the original. Yeah.
Yeah. Bye. Um.
I never know something because the one with the price is on.
I was gonna say, what I had from last month, I'm not seeing a pricing schedule, it's just a
It
material.
may just be
schedule.
on that I have at home then.
The quote or however. it is.
Yeah.
So let me take a look. I think it could be argued before the too far into parcels, I think it could be argued that visually it would be better to have a continuous material. So say even if you had the sliding doors present to kind of shroud that with that smart side on the outside of the doors as well. As opposed to seeing an overhead door from Main Street. So that's something to consider as well. Or again, you just say as it is, we find that this is generally improvable, it's a metal door finished in a color that works well, and that's something that could be approved as well, so. I really did not have, with everything that's been supplied since our last session, I didn't really have anything more to add this evening, so.
Okay, so just to pull it all together,
Mhm.
for people that we find like.
No.
So what are the main concerns right now to be able to approve?
So we've overcome a lot of them. We've
Yeah.
gone from I mean, to be honest, yeah, like I said, I can't applaud that enough, for both for Rita's efforts, Tommy.
Thank you for coming down.
Yes, thank you. But the corrugated, metal siding, we've now gone to an LP Smart side that is within that pre-approved list. The guidelines,
That's
give a
not-
big thumbs up on that, yeah. And as a material that matches the context of the district around it, likewise, the shingles, we've gone from a metal roof to a shingle roof that matches, again, contextually what's there, so again.
That's good.
Yep, aesthetically a win. Steel door, also approved. We've got a steel or fiberglass overhead door, also approved. And then aluminum windows, so, which again, in new construction, are called out as acceptable as well.
Mhm.
So I think all of that is good to go. Really, the only question in mind is the sliders, how those are finished out. And again, whether it's acceptable to build them as is shown, whether it would, be better to have smart siding on them. Or you go with a different style of door. I think the latter of those three being probably the most extreme change and probably the least aesthetically,
Yeah.
compatible, so.
Wow.
I think given all, for
A lot of
me, given
progress.
all the
That's the
changes that
last
they've
one.
made, I'm fine moving forward with approving as is.
I think so you make your motion.
Yeah, I'm here making a motion to approve it.
I'll second. All in favor?
Perfect.
Daydreaming.
Thank you all for all of your help. Thank you for coming back. We really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank you for taking the time to work with us. That was a pleasure. Thank you for helping me.
Yeah.
That'll help us in the future.
You thought we were gonna ask you like 100 questions, right? We thank.
Finally, you have an answer.
I didn't see that. I think it's really pretty back there.
I want to make sure we have that down. Rachel motioned and
I
it was seconded, correct? Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Just making sure.
So for the sliders, just clear which way.
And you read-
As is, as a step. So the siding around them, as you would see here, that's where your LP will come up on each side, but your aluminum will be acceptable on those slider doors. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, if anything changes, I'm talking to my card, you can reach out to any, any changes, well. Clerk's office, feel free to reach out with any questions. That's right, okay? Your last name is record.
You're gonna put all your crafts in there, huh? Are you excited to have your craft
Tommy,
day?
you're one, correct? All right, perfect. I'll make sure I got you on our attendees list, so.
All right.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate you guys. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. All right, we have no visitors.
Everybody's there.
There are none present currently.
Yes.
Let's go to The town of Brookfield. All right, new business. So we received a email. I received it, what, today or last night? Today.
11 o'clock, yes.
I don't think I didn't forward it to all of you guys because we were meeting today. So, John Estridge sent an email to myself and asked that, I guess, and Rick was at that meeting, I believe, last evening. It sounds as though FCN Bank came to the town meeting, and expressed their interest in having some sort of, what do you use the word for it?
Appeal.
Yeah, an appeal to the signed decision. John sent an email and asked that we have he said appoint specific people to meet with FCN and the town of Brookfield to talk about a third alternative, essentially.
Creating
Yeah.
a committee to get together and try to,
Come up with a solution.
Trying to
come up
essentially.
with a
Yes, with
solution.
Mitch as
Get
well.
everybody in the room.
Exactly.
Everyone knows this, or they should have saw my email, but I did ask to be recused from it because Tom is on my board now where I work. So he's literally on my department's board. And so I feel like that's a direct conflict of interest because he's on that board and doing business here. It's just not, to me, that's a conflict for sure.
My question about that, though, does the town of Brookfield really have any say so over this? They do not, do they?
That's a great question, and that's what I thought about.
Attorney, don't, nowhere could he find that the town has any authority to do that.
To
Yeah.
do what?
To
To
even come up.
overrule whatever decision HBC makes.
So really, I mean, my understanding based on all of the conversations that we've had is that they would have to then submit another sign request and then get another second denial, and then they would have to take it to the court, right?
Sorry, I didn't.
No, you go ahead.
I
You're
apologize.
good. You're
No,
good.
my understanding is that, yes, I mean, either way, this is gonna boil down to a new COA consideration by the HPC. What was submitted previously has been denied. It's felt by most that, especially beyond the new year, which, to be honest, probably next time we'll be able to sit down and discuss this, is that appeal process will be null, that it's been so much time has passed, that they won't be able to go back to the previously denied COA. So I think we need to look at this with fresh eyes, and what they're requiring. I will say, with a little bit of humor, that I went back through, the city's live streams from last month and we were the most viewed, so. Kudos there, we're going viral. So, and I'll be honest, I was at least, I think, 2 of those views, because I viewed the meeting after our meeting last month and viewed the meeting, late last week again, and, I do think that maybe we have an alley for promoting this in a way. I still will say wholeheartedly that this goes completely against the guidelines in a myriad of ways, many of which we discussed this time last month. However, if we were to look at a caveat wherein it's an upgrade in technology, so how many, and you guys will know town far better than I do. I like to think I know of a few of them hanging around. Do we know where the remaining, let's call them dot matrix, the incandescent bulb, just like we see down here at 400. Do we know how many of those are throughout town, or who else has those throughout town?
In the historic
In the
district,
historic district, I mean, we're.
that's the end, right? And then they have
I
a
don't
little.
know.
And they have the date and time one too.
Under
Yeah.
the one at
The
400,
small
or
on
at
the
the 500
corner.
there, right? Yeah, on the corner. Okay.
Is it under the clock tells the
Yeah.
degree?
Yes,
Is that working?
yeah.
Is it? I'm trying to think about it. I'm like, no, 'cause I know the one in Harrison has worked for years, and I know it's probably of a similar vintage to the one we're dealing with.
No, it works. It's a little bit off though. I think it's like, it's a little aggressive sometimes with its temperature. I'm like, there's no way it's that temperature.
Thinking back through and reviewing the points that were brought up, on all sides, last month. I do think that if we were to go the route of a variance granted by the HPC, we could say that you had to have had a pre-existing dot matrix sign present in order to bring about a new LED sign. So that is to say that their, again, I'm just calling it a matrix incandescent sign that's down there at the main branch there at 400 across from the courthouse would be applicable to that variance. And ironically, their other property showing the date and time at on the 500 block would also be. So that, because my guess is, if I'm being perfectly candid, I think they're gonna come back to us eventually and say, we want to replace that one as well. We want something that's.
The reality is their sign's not going to work at some point. right?
Exactly,
Like,
yes,
that's the
and-
reality of the situation.
Right, we're not dealing with animated signage within the district really elsewhere. I mean, we don't have, animated neon, we don't have an animated, trying to think of what else we might do.
All the rest of it is
but-
blade sign.
Exactly, it's all blade signage, all exteriorly illuminated. So if a variance were to be granted, and trust me, this did not occur to me last month, and this is after a couple hours of deliberation myself. I think that you could look at it and say, okay, where one was pre-existing, where one was grandfathered, that could be replaced with an LED alone.
So the question is
Yeah.
though, then that would be an addendum to the legal document that they already provided us, right? Because then you still run into the lumens question and the brightness, which they were willing to accommodate, right?
Yeah, Tom is willing to have them create a program on the sign in Batesville that we can look at and see exactly what they're wanting to do, the brightness of the sign, different things like that. He's willing to do that. He's willing to work a lot to try to get this taken care of.
Well, and I think that we need to make clear too, that our efforts and our deliberation have been in a bona fide effort as well.
Exactly.
We're not trying to sit here, but what we do have is a book that says in 6 or 7 different ways, this
No,
does not apply.
no.
Now that does not apply to a new situation. I guess the question really comes down to, as Deborah alluded to, it opens up a major can of worms in terms of the operation of the sign being non-conforming. How exactly do we want to see this thing programmed and controlled? Do we want a modern sign that replicates the look of what is existing, meaning it's only amber colored, it flashes only in the same way that they programmed it to, the timing is like that? I mean, would we reel it in that much, or do we want to be a little bit more?
I think that's what he's willing to do, is show that where all of us who chose to look at it, see what they're willing to do, how bright the lights are.
Look at just how close it is to 52 Main Street, about what the rules are for LED signs, how close they can be to a state highway.
I know that they're planning to reel that in a bit, because the sign that, and I recall this from our last meeting, they said it's about 4x8, as I recall, and it brings it in quite a bit.
The sign now goes all the way over the sidewalk.
Reviewing last month's meeting, my interpretation after watching it again was that they had not talked to a DOT or federal
I
highway.
would believe
liaison.
that.
I would say, I don't know if that
Needs
conversation
to happen.
before this
before.
comes back.
Because if they come back and say there's no way to fit this size in where you turn it, then it kind of takes us.
And
I
we
think that's a
shouldn't have
valid
any, yeah, the sign shouldn't even be there then, right, is what you're saying?
Yeah. There are signs that they're saying.
Content that they can get the permit from the state,
Because
something like that.
Yeah, but it probably,
It was
I mean, the-
60s.
yeah, it's in there, the regulation. of
I
it.
did want to illustrate, I was just reading this where they used Texas, I mean, that's pretty far away, the state of Texas. And Cincinnati has something like this in their historic district. But Rushville also did, and they have nothing but regrets.
I remember
And
that.
we were told that they regret that they okayed it.
So they regret.
And now
with the LED.
And now they can't take it back.
Yeah, that was when we voted on it prior.
Well, and then other businesses, you know, would use it, but in this case, it doesn't seem that they could use that.
I
as
think it's a
loophole.
moot point if you add an addendum that specifically states that only someone that previously had that type of sign could utilize the sign moving forward and it's a legal document, then it's a moot point. No one else can request it.
Whether we would, yeah, I agree. The issue is combating it in the future, because we can get very technical and say, well, we issued a variance and the variance states explicitly this. And then when somebody who either doesn't know or doesn't care about the procedurals decides, hey, they got one, I'm gonna put one up too. Without corrective action and code enforcement at our side, we may have weeds popping up everywhere. And by that, I mean new signage that has not been approved,
Yeah.
but it's the colloquial, well, they got, you know, and that is more my fear, even with the legal document at our side.
It would have to
Is
be enforced.
is enforcing it, and that can open up a major can of worms,
It's
so.
always a can of
And
worms.
it is. Yeah.
Same situation would be pertinent.
Yeah, I won't say it's creating a new situation, it just might be encouraging new activity. I'm trying, and I was trying to think on the drive up tonight, I can't think outside of their sign, I appreciate the date and time, because yeah, I recall on the 500 block, I don't know of any others down through town that were using LED signage prior to, it's Walgreens is beyond the district, but
Yeah, Dairy
Uh,
Cottage
and-
is their LED sign, but they're
And
not in
it's
this
farmers
circle.
mutual.
The
at the
farmer
bottom of the
mutual.
hill,
Yeah.
they're not
That was
transferring.
a little obnoxious.
Yeah,
It was Dairy Cottage.
Well, it's sort of like
Yeah.
a firehouse, it grabs your eye.
Line,
I
yeah.
mean, and they can change that, all that, they can
Because
change,
that one's LED.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what would
Yeah,
you
but
do?
I mean, it can be changed, it doesn't have to be so
They have-
bright, so many
Yeah.
different colors, you can change the colors. And that's something you probably have to look at, you know, look, we're not putting these kind of colors.
I would just, what about, I mean, there are banks in, you know, Madison and all that, would it be like, have those banks come in and talk about other ways that they market besides an LED sign, which is, I mean, I'm not trying to like put anyone down here, but it's a very archaic way of advertising in 2025, 2026. Like,
Exactly, I.
billboards are not where people.
Facebook,
usually
it's on the
their
internet,
investment.
all that information is
Yeah.
where people look at stuff
Yeah,
now.
and so that's what I'm saying is investing in general in this sign for the banks themselves. To me, it just feels like a Band-Aid on a dam, like if they're trying to fix a business issue or whatever it is. Billboards, especially an LED sign, is not necessarily where the future lies in marketing.
I see both sides of that argument, to be perfectly blunt. I mean, I see your side, and to be honest, and I think we discussed this last month, it is in your face, very, very public the minute you step inside the historic district. The second you crest that hill on Fit, it's right there. I mean, you know, so to Tom's defense, in a way, I think that it's not so much a business concern or a
Yeah.
promotional, I think it's their way of saying, we've got this major platform to get community events out there, which to be fair, yeah, it's been I think an effective one. I mean, I know I certainly see things, I saw the Metamora Christmas walk flashing up there as I drove in tonight. And so I definitely see both sides of that argument. Yeah.
Yeah, if you think
It's-
like in 1965, when it first was put up, that it was either at the newspaper or the radio, is how
Yeah.
people were hearing about this, and we're talking, you know, hundreds, maybe a few thousands of people, but now you're thinking of just our Facebook pages, our social media pages, websites, for all the information that's available.
Yeah.
Majority of people moving forward in the next 25 years are all gonna have that by that point.
Yeah,
And so to me, it's like, are we getting something set up that is going to be an effective eyesore in the next 20+ years, where, you know, it's not really the way that I mean, it would be a very interesting study just to see in terms of businesses putting in marketing money into billboards in 2026 versus in 1996 versus in 1966, and where their money is going, otherwise what's effectual.
So, back eons ago, I don't know how old that sign is that Franklin County Bank had.
I think Todd joked that it was
44 years.
Almost.
48 years, it was
No.
almost historical itself. Yeah, I joked, I said, we'll get a
Maybe
nomination.
they're trying to get it out before it becomes historical and protected.
So that was before we had the historical,
Sure.
yeah, way before,
Maybe.
yeah. So
Local.
if it was before, no, I want to say this, so that was put up before we had the historical guidelines.
Yeah.
For the district.
I mean, it was not 2021.
One.
So. I don't, so, but it says in the guidelines,
Mhm.
no LEDs are permitted for historical.
In a number of ways, no large
Because-
graphic, large billboards on buildings,
Have
flashing,
internally
animated.
lit signs, like a sign that like Nick
Inside your
Spears is
store, yeah.
grandfathered in, but like you can't have a sign that has a light on the inside of it. Like that's not even permitted.
Yeah, cause like La Calaca wanted to put one of those up and we said
And
no.
they had to have a light shining
Yeah.
on their sign, but you can't have an
Yes.
internally lit sign.
I want to bring up again, just to play devil's advocate here for a minute, because I do so well. Let me pull up our guidelines. I want to take a look at the commercial standards on those, because there is a point. And again, we have dealt with this so much in Aurora that I've almost got these memorized. As a matter of fact, it should be page 63. So I'm not, you can check me on this, but hey, when commercial standards for signage start page 63, there you go. I think it's 63 to 67. So, and this has been a hot topic as well. So, and it's all public information. It's all through public meetings. So this is an ongoing issue. But one thing I do want to mention is where it says that new signs or to replace a sign or where no signage exists, that they should not cover or remove elements of the building that give it its character. So in this case, we don't really have that concern. We're not plastering it to the side of the building. Should be in proportion and similar in colors and details of the building. So that obviously green frame matches the color, their programming, et cetera. And then this is the one that I really want to bring forth tonight. Signs designed in the same period as the building's construction are recommended, allowing the use of modern materials for their fabrication. So that got me thinking after our meeting last time, and we've dealt with this usually when it deals with let's say classical design for a salon or something along those lines. You want something that looks, if it's a 19th century building, you want something that looks like it would have gone with that 19th century building. If we had a Greyhound station with a big Greyhound neon that flashed the letters down the side, sitting in the middle of so sorry, Brookville, my apologies, the other Beeville, Brookville, it would be something that at this day and age, considering historic is now classified as anything 50 plus, 1975 and beyond, it would be something we'd look to protect. It would be a local, either Art Deco or let's say mid-century concern, right? And that neon, the animation of it, that would be something that we would want to see left intact. So let's consider for a moment this point of 1975, right on the verge, or 77, wherever we might be, 48 years, 50 years. It is arguable that if that sign has been around for that long, it is the aesthetic, the function, and the design of that sign that matches that building. So if, again, I just want to mention this, reiterate this, if we could match the look of the sign at current through the new technology, that may be permissible via the guidelines, but it would be, I'm talking even more controls than we'd seen in the affidavit last month. It would be
Not a
appropriate.
4x8 sign.
And see, there's an argument to be had there too, right? Well, the sign that's there is this big. You need to maintain that size of a sign. And it needs to be, these LEDs, though they're much smaller than the incandescent bulbs, need to be programmed in such a way that they look like the old sign, to the point that if you're driving into town, the illumination level, the coloring, the programming, the flashing, all that would need to look exactly like the sign that is there at current.
So could they take that sign down and reconfigure the lighting stuff?
No, they can't, they said they can't.
They can't even find parts for it. So we're talking, we're going off, that's a great point, because you're right. Why not just rehab? If you would have rehabbed a neon or you would have rehabbed this, you know, there's another thing to consider. Do you require rehabilitation of the sign that's there? I don't know how feasible that is, but I mean,
They told us that.
let's say by the sound of Tom last month, yeah, my understanding is that you cannot, I would tend to believe that, but that's, go ahead.
No, you're okay. What you just said mimics the conversations that we had 2 years ago about the theater sign that mimicked a modern sign, correct? Doesn't that sound very similar? What you
Yes,
just
it
said?
does.
Where we had found it, I think it was maybe Todd Thackeray brought in something that they had found in Texas on a historic theater where it was modern technology, but it looked very much like old technology. So,
In Texas, yeah.
And we've had the same consideration with, regard to say neon. Neon's a hot topic. Well, I can make a neon sign.
Mhm.
Well, what you make is a rope light sign that, is maybe mounted to a board. True neon is programmable through its modern transformers to do the old school programming, but with modern tech. Now, it's, as I understand it, extremely expensive. Can't say I've looked into it firsthand. But I know from case studies in Michigan and throughout Indiana that it has been done and that it's applicable. Likewise, again, if we had that, everybody pictures one, right? The Greyhound bus station, if we had that, the real tall marquee signage. If we had that in town and they were saying, look, we don't want to change the aesthetics, but the mechanics that are powering this thing from the mid-50s are shot and we can't get parts and we're trying to fix, then it would be, okay, how do we retrofit that to the modern age? How do you restore it, modify it at the same time to essentially keep the character, the function and the aesthetic, but, with modern tech. So I think that there may be, and again, this is not for me to decide. This is just, again, devil's advocacy, a little bit of, insight, a little bit of looking again at that signs design in the same period as the building's construction are recommended, allowing the use of modern materials for them. They constitute more controls than the affidavit that was applied gave, in terms of color and different things as we've discussed, but I just wanted to throw that out tonight. I want to make sure that's
That's great.
covered.
Because I think we need to let them know that we're not just saying, no, we're working on it. And here's, all the suggestions that we come up with that they could do, that they know we could give them that and say, here, we're trying to work with you. So, where can we meet middle ground? And everybody get what they want out of this or need.
Yes.
So what I wanna see if I understand this right, is that they can use the modern technology, but they could fix the lights so they look, that's up there now,
Mhm.
not the bright.
So let's,
It would look like the yellow or whatever glow that's not that bright white.
that's what I'm advocating for. Again, trying to find a middle ground, reading through this, reading through or listening again to all the points that were discussed last month is, say you've got, every sign, if it's got the incandescent bulbs, is gonna have a grid, right? It's just the size of the bulb. So you go from, maybe these 40-watt bulbs, little round bulbs, to an LED. And let's say now that there's 4 LEDs in a square for every singular bulb that there
Mhm.
used to be. You would just say, okay, the way we're programming this is every 4 is gonna be 1, and we would program it exactly the same. So if we've got, dancing ants around the border of the sign, now we know, okay, we've got to program four squares, essentially 4 per square, 2 high, 2 wide, that dance around the border that way.
Mhm.
And essentially coming into town, the aesthetic of the sign would be completely the same. It would be modern tech, as long as the illumination was kept to the same Kelvin as what we have out there now, as long as the coloring is kept the same. I think you'll notice a difference because there inevitably will be a little bit of change, but it's gonna be about as close to what's permissible with using the new tech. And it's just a matter of, as Rachel alluded to, is it appropriate via the DOT's current guidelines? Is that, also grandfathered, or, do the current requirements not allow them to have a sign that close? Can they replicate an LED sign at that dimension as is present if it is allowed? And are they willing to, work within those same parameters to limit them to that singular color, the basic program?
Well, like the FCN bank logo itself wasn't part of the LED, like that's part of the sign above.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying, like the 4x8 wouldn't be in like the appropriate size, it would be more of like a.
I remember seeing Beth's render of what they had proposed, and it did look it looked very different from what's there now. I mean, honestly, even if they used part of the frame, you would still think that it's like, oh, they got a totally new sign. I mean, it does
Yeah.
look, yeah. And so
Yeah, that's modern looking, isn't it?
And so I think part of the requirement would be that essentially you're maintaining the frame that is there and replacing the
Sideways.
inset with LED.
Like
Oh,
sideways.
sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I can't control it, I gotta let it fly.
Is that okay?
No.
You turn it into.
Gotta let it fly. Oh, no, there you go.
And there is, so this is where it would be.
I like the idea of keeping the original sign, because when you said that about the Greyhound, you know, this has almost been there 50 years. But that's
But replacing
that's
under-
totally different.
But that's what I'm
looking.
saying is that, just replacing this piece right here.
Yeah,
That's to be clear, that's what I'm advocating for.
Yes,
You keep
right.
the current frame,
yeah.
you remove the old, you know, whatever that is, 12-foot wide board.
Yeah.
You take that out, you put a new LED board in that same frame, and you program the new LED board to replicate the look of the old.
Yeah.
To be honest, like I said, you know, when you're talking nearly 50, boy, I'd hate to get that, you know, 1955
No,
Greyhound
yeah.
station to, you know, 2005 and say, well, that's it, that's enough for that, let's change the look, because I mean, your building has cemented itself aesthetically in that era. And again, if nothing else, it maintains a grandfathered sign that everybody knows coming into town.
Because that wouldn't be grandfather, that's something totally different.
That is something totally.
That's just a whole new ballgame.
Yeah, I want to be clear, I'm not premising my argument based on the render shown last
Right.
month, that render, I'm premising this on maintaining what is there as best possible, replacing the
I
sign.
can tentatively get on board with the same frame, LED underneath, but parameters of not having, you know, dancing Santa Clauses and.
Didn't
He
we talk
seemed-
about that the first?
He seemed to be willing to
Keeping-
work as far as the brightnesses, all, you know, the colors.
Yeah.
He seems to be wanting to work with us, I mean.
And to be,
Okay, keeping that the same size.
What would they even have?
They wouldn't be
They're
able.
probably, it's probably grandfather as
Okay.
far as the.
And my next question is, how would you control that? Let's just say 10 years down the road, when we've said you gotta keep this down real low, and then gradually somebody new comes in and sets it, and pretty soon you got it. How would that be controlled?
I argue it's a multifaceted concern. Richard, to your point earlier, yeah, you've got a couple of signs in town that are real noticeable. I think that is a larger town concern. I think that's the possibility of an introduction of a revision to the sign ordinance that's in place to say.
Yeah, some of them, there's
All
operators.
operators need to keep this below.
Yeah, that would be the
Uh,
town council.
And I was gonna say that to me is town control, so that.
Exactly, it's
just
not in the
our pocket.
historic, district,
Right,
so
yeah.
it is something the town could deal with.
I think that would be the first step, you know, just to say, look, all operators throughout town must keep them at this level, this many lumens, you know, et cetera. Look at the specs, work with those sign designers to know, here's what we want to keep this at. In our purview, it is the issuance of a variance in this case. Go ahead, please, Pete.
That's something we could do. Is spell it out in a variance that it's only this bright, that's all it's ever gonna be. And you set the parameters
Can
that
you,
they gotta abide by.
can you add also in historical district rules?
So with the ordinance, yes, I would
Yeah, with
say
the
that
ordinance,
specifically
yeah.
as it concerns the historic district. I think it would be for the good of the town to have that ordinance apply everywhere, not just within the district. But you could say specifically, based on a variance issued, this is also allotted within the historic district. It'd be a subset within that ordinance. Again, I don't want to put any words in anybody's mouth. I don't know how the attorney would frame this. I think within our purview, it comes down to us issuing a variance to set a precedent to say only in instances where these dot matrix signs have previously exist, i.e. the
Exactly.
400 building and the 500 building for FCN, we allow them to be replaced with LED technology
The same size.
under these conditions, and we would, I think, edit the affidavit supplied with more specific controls to say they must replicate the look of the grandfathered signage. That puts it both in the city's control overall for enforcement. It also sets a precedent for us moving forward so that we have our own standard to follow there.
What if they can't do it within, let's say that sign up there, that can't be done in that, particular-
You got to work with.
I mean,
Oh, within the frame?
yeah.
Well, I don't wanna speak for any sign builders. I know, I'm thinking of, what's it, Dakota? Is the big LED supplier? I'm trying to, it's been so long since I've looked into that, but I know that there is a ton of flexibility with modern sign design and the technology they have. My estimate, and again, I'm not an expert in this field, is that they would probably have the means nowadays to do it pretty readily. I don't wanna say that's guaranteed.
Yeah.
I'm confident enough in the likelihood of that to say contingent on DOT's okay and their willingness to work within those parameters, that the material itself, the execution itself is probably not going to be an issue. But obviously that's something that will come out in the woodwork, I'm sure, as this progresses.
Is the sign in good shape? Like, can it just be?
The structural part of it, I have not a clue.
Because
All the other parts,
I love that if they keep it, but they keep the color down and.
I have some colleagues I know that would be on the side of, nope, stick strictly to the guidelines. They
Yeah.
need to, if that's gone and that's done and they cannot maintain a grandfathered sign, then you need to replace it with something that now matches the codified guidelines.
And that definitely.
This, I think, is a way for everybody to.
Well, and I think if it was like the old Farmers Mutual building, trying to add like a LED, like I mean, it is probably, no offense, FCM, like the ugliest building on Main Street. I mean, it's the most modern building on Main Street.
Do we know when that building, we know the sign goes back a ways. Do we know when that
50,
building was?
Are you talking a little
when was that built?
Yeah.
I'm.
Oh, no, I would say
the
FCN building. is
early
beautiful.
sixties. I think the other thing I was thinking about is like, just
No?
throwing this out there, but what about if they decide at some point to build a new bank and someone fire line?
Oh, if they moved outside of town, really?
Oh, and somebody else acquires the, how would that,
Tie that
A big
down.
building.
I would say that affidavit and you're smart to bring that up, Deborah. Honestly, I didn't even think about that. That affidavit would have to transfer with ownership. That would have to be.
Well, as long as you have the ordinance or variance,
It
and they
would,
can't change it. Correct. As long as it's in the historic and we have changed the rules to do this, that's the rules.
all
Whether they sell it, he leaves, whatever, that's still the rules.
It all
correct?
depends on how that ordinance is drafted
That-
and how controlling, how general or how specific
Right.
that is. I think for our concern, because it only concerns what, 2 buildings in the
Yeah.
district that has this, and it only pertains to 400 as we're talking about right now. It's possible that maybe even beyond the affidavit, we would need a recorded covenant on the property to say in perpetuity that any signage operated on, or, off of this frame would have to be, okayed by the
Well,
HPC.
But if it did transfer hands, like the FCN sign itself, they would want to switch that top part out as well, and that's a interior lit sign currently, right?
It is, which
So
would mean
like,
that
that's what I'm
that,
saying, is like, would then they be able to put in a new sign that was interior lit with their own.
But what Rick said, then the ordinance would apply, right? That's what.
Exactly, if you make that ordinance, they're bound by that. I mean, not unless the HBC decided to change that ordinance. They're still bound by that, the
Could
one
we
we said.
Could we protect the sign as an FCN sign only, and if it's not an FCN sign anymore, the sign itself has to be taken down?
that's a
Because
great legal
if we're,
question.
but I'm saying.
Yeah.
No, like saying, if we're saying that the only reason we're making this happen is because the FCN sign itself is an iconic sign that everyone in Brookfield recognizes, if that's why we're making this ordinance for, considering this ordinance for it, then the sign itself would have to be what is being protected, so if it does change hands, the sign would have to either say FCN or like it can't be altered.
You guys this is excellent. This is far beyond anything I have thought all over tonight. No, I love it though. No, this is all food for thought. I would say if you're considering it as a local landmark, and certainly it's something that's brought a lot of attention. I think there's the possibility that you could say that you know, barring, say the HPC goes away, right? That control would follow to the town of Brookville's ordinance if that were ever introduced. And that would give city council the requirement to enforce it. You could also, I mean, you know, again, I don't know how cooperative they would be. You could also say that as a landmark, if FCN vacates, and that the sign is no longer applicable, because one of our guidelines is that signage confusing to the location should be removed.
Yeah.
Meaning if a new owner comes in, it shouldn't read any longer FCN Bank. You know, again, legal very much needs to get involved with this. Is about as far as I would take this conversation, but the idea that, you know, control or ownership of the sign would fall to the city, you know, that either the town elects, we're done with this, we're gonna put up something else that benefits the town of Brookville, we want a new signage or signage following our own ordinance. Or, hey, we popped the FCN, you know, backlit panel out of there, we put a town of Brookville panel in it, and now the town of Brookville controls this informatic billboard across from the courthouse. All ideas that could be on the table, again, depending on how willing they are to play ball, what legal comes back with. Contingent on things like, again, DOD, whether it's even logistically possible, again, whether we can execute installation of something like that. I mean, but yeah, it would be all things on the table there. And I think to kind of digress and bring us back to our new business, the point of this conversation, and Richard, please correct me if I'm wrong, I unfortunately could not make last night's council meeting, is just again, to get everybody in the room to have a discussion, very much like what we're having here tonight, with a couple of commissioners. Again, I'm happy to be present, as well, and to bring up points like this to kind of find a middle ground.
Find that middle ground.
Before we even go any further with that, then though, I feel like we have to see if that old sign is salvageable or if they're just talking a
Well,
total
that's something
sign.
we're gonna hammer out when we get together and talk.
I think that's an excellent
Or
point to bring up.
saying the sign is not salvageable and it's got, it
Then I
has to
mean,
be
then I think it
taken
was
down.
the opportunity in that particular meeting for them to discuss what are the other options, kind of.
Yeah.
what
Yeah, I
we're
would
here.
So if the sign is not salvageable and it has to be taken down, are we gonna, is it okay for them then to come in with a brand new sign?
Right.
So then it's not historic. It's something totally different. We're on a totally
You're
different
saying
page here.
maybe a new sign to replicate what's there. To replicate what's there, so the,
It's a totally different ballgame,
Right.
that picture. In my mind, what do you guys
I,
think?
I mean, that's something we can discuss
In that meeting.
in, I think more than one head,
Yeah.
you know,
Maybe having. them-
thinking about it.
Yeah, that looks modern. The old sign up there does look like it might be.
Well, that old one comes all the way across the sidewalk.
Yeah.
That FCN part comes off,
Yeah.
that extends out past the sidewalk. I mean,
In terms of like the old Greyhound bus station, okay, that is like historic. That is not historic.
Yeah. Where and when are they wanting to have the meeting?
They just said they wanted people that would be able to meet with the town and then also FCN. They didn't set dates or time yet. They just
we
wanted
had
us
set
to,
a date.
Okay.
It'd be after the new year, I can tell you that.
which means we'll have different, I mean, Janet and Kathy will be gone after the new year, so we will have.
Still sitting room.
That's kind of red.
Yeah.
Sure. No, absolutely. I think, again, I think at this point, it's just a question of, I mean, Deborah has recused herself. Again, I've mentioned I'm happy to be in the room if everybody feels the city and the commissioners here feel it's appropriate. We are going to be two less after the new year, and I think that obviously I kind of assumed that it would fall after. So of the four remaining, how many of you would want to be in that room? I mean, I think it's of value that Richard is there.
Are you gonna be the council or the HPC?
Both.
We get two.
I guess you're not.
Well,
voting.
me and John would like to do this with the HPC to try, and the bank to try to do something else.
We had that for once. I mean,
To work together,
I see everyone.
the two committees to work together.
I mean,
And it would be
it's not like we can change it, the town can't change it,
No.
the HPC got to change it.
I'm being there, I just gotta keep my mouth shut. I just should not talk. I would love to sit in and just be quiet, like.
That's as long as you don't vote on nothing.
Well, and to be clear, I want to make clear too, that we do not require a quorum there because there will be no vote of HPC members outside of a public forum. So this is
Would it be,
simply,
it will be recorded or?
I do not know. That depends entirely on.
Special meeting.
I would say it would not be recorded.
So does the town council even need to be invited? They're not.
Do we want?
I think
to?
they're trying to mediate. Is that my understanding, Rick? Like they're wanting to
That's-
mediate. and come up
that's
with a
all it is.
solution.
I mean, like I said, we can't do nothing, whatever the HPC decides. We're out of it. It's just, we just wanna be in the room to try to
know what's
find this
going on.
middle ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This to my interpretation is putting heads together, a fact-finding mission. Coming out of it would hopefully be a framed reapplication to say, okay, take this information forth, talk to DOT, talk to your sign designers, bring that information, bring your questions back to us. Let's try and get this wrapped, say Q1 of 26 with a new COA application that preemptively meets what was discussed at the conversation. That's gonna bring it back into the fold of the HPC at large, and then a formal vote.
I
Or
mean,
at least
ideally,
comment.
they could watch this and if they agree with what we're saying, they could just.
They could, I'm
They
not ashamed to get in a room and talk with folks and be face to face. I mean, I'm,
Anything
I-
along.
I-
You could watch it.
We just like, hey, watch the video.
yeah.
You can get a transcript.
and honestly-
ChatGPT, they can get all of the.
I mean, when you're watching this, we're, these are the ideas we had. So I mean, they're invited, obviously, this is a
Yeah.
public forum, they are invited to review this. And it would probably be of benefit to have them watch this beforehand. I certainly think if I were on the other side, I would be watching it ahead of
Yeah.
time to see what was discussed. So, but I was, exactly, I mean, I don't doubt that they will, but I think that bringing these same concerns to that table is of benefit, and again, before it's brought back to us for a formal vote.
Okay,
So would it be beneficial, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, so that's our next step, is to have this.
It's just to have
meeting.
this meeting, yes, and that's what we're here tonight, is to appoint commissioners or find volunteers
Yeah,
who are willing to sit at that
So
table.
we obviously want people from the bank and something from.
We're just talking internally, folks of ours, but they'll dictate who they want at that table. And we'll do that. Yes,
She
yes,
was
yes.
down too. Greg said yes, are you willing to as well?
Need all there.
Would it be beneficial though, before you approach the bank, that you go into it with the understanding that that rendition is totally not acceptable because it's not something that would have been considered grandfathered in. The only way it would be considered grandfathered in is they can salvage the old sign or make one look like that sign. Because if they're coming in with that,
Yes.
I think that's just gotta be something that's gotta be hammered out while we're talking. We're not gonna accept this.
And
We
we're not
wanna work
voting
on
on
it.
anything.
We know that.
Well,
Like, I mean, I feel like you're.
There-
what I was gonna say is, should they discuss it with their sign people? Is that a possibility, like of replacing that board before they even, because if it's not a possibility.
They'll do their
You
due
mean-
diligence. They're gonna
Like
watch
somebody
this.
give them a heads up, they need to,
See, if that, since we're talking in the terms of like a historic sign, like the Greyhound bus station, like everybody recognizes it, everybody recognizes the sign that's there. Can that board just be replaced? Or are you talking, you have to have something totally different and it's gonna look like that? And that is not, like historically accurate. Nobody, I mean, that's not a 50-year-old sign. That's a modern sign.
I just feel like when it's confirmed, Mitchell does that, or I do it with the town, just stating, we recommend that they review the meeting to understand what was discussed
Yeah.
during the meeting so that they can proactively.
Okay, so they're
Right.
aware when they come in.
Mediation.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I would do. I wouldn't go into detail with all of that. I would just say.
Be aware before they come to the meeting, so it doesn't
Right.
waste everybody's time.
My assumption is tonight we'll nominate, and again, I've got Rachel and Richard written down here. I will send out an email with at least the two of you copied, Deborah, to say, here's who we have that's raised their hand and said we'd like to be in the room. I'll mention as well that if found appropriate, I'd be there as well. And I would just say, we'd like to know who from the bank and who from the town can be present, what days, we can get this arranged. And just say, we invite you to review last night's meeting, recording. So that you kind of, because the last thing we want to do is, hey, we're meeting January 17th and we barrel in there and it's, by the way, we don't like this and that, and, we don't, right, so that's not the goal of that. Yeah, but so that we can say, look, we had an at-length conversation about this. We think we may have found some middle ground. I would invite you to review what we discussed since conveniently it's recorded and, and public information. And that way it'll give you kind of a temper for what the conversation, what we're walking.
Yeah, I
into.
think that's a smart way to handle, and it creates an effective use of time for all the parties that are taking their time to do that, right?
So
I think
I
you
think
should
we'll-
definitely go to the meeting.
Oh, yeah.
I'm happy to be there. Again, I am not a voting commissioner. I'm not a resident, so I'll be there if called upon and I'm happy to. be there.
Alternatives too, that we just discussed, so I would say that.
Happy to do
I mean, we've been talking about this for 3 years, and we had came up with that idea.
Well,
Like second thought on that.
okay, perfect. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I know, and I'll say this for the record as well, I know there are colleagues of mine who would look at this and go, oh, what you doing? But, I honestly, I think that there is a middle ground to be found here and that maintains the current aesthetic. And let's be honest, the aesthetic that the historic district has had for the last, 5 years. But that, maybe is again, a middle ground that we can all work
I
toward.
would also say, Mitchell, it's reflective of who we've tried to be as a board as well, so, I mean, while others may perceive it differently, I think those of us that have been on the board since the inception have really tried to listen and objectively come up with solutions, so I would say it correlates with who we are as a board, or have been as a board.
Yeah, okay, so really, it says on here, appointment of commissioners for the meeting. That was the only item.
It's everyone but me and then.
Everybody, but, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's.
So then we have, you wanna go to the next thing,
Uh,
or good?
I think we're all good. I just have that it's Rachel, Richard, myself and Victoria.
Thank you.
Is that, yeah.
I believe John wants to, as far as the town too. I mean, I can check with him more.
John, Deborah will be copied. I was planning to copy John and Tom both.
There you go.
Beth, I'm assuming will be
Beth.
present.
It'll be in-
So, and it'll be, I'm assuming it'll fall sometime in January. It's, to be honest, January is filling up, but it's gonna be a madhouse trying to get everybody's heads correlated between, now and then. I do feel, to Deborah's point, that everybody will have a spare hour over the holidays, that if they wanted to watch this, they would have time to do that. And that, again, is a very proactive measure. So let me make sure I've got John E. Let's see here, Tom H. and Beth Seibert on there as well. Anybody else you guys feel I should copy on that? Okay, and of course Deborah.
And where do we want to have this meeting?
I think the town will probably decide.
As I say, they'll probably elect as to where that should be. Yeah, it may come down, again, I don't think that there's any need to have it public because there won't be a vote had. Again, it's just a fact-finding mission. Legal may step in and say, no, we need to make this a special. I have no idea. That's well beyond my realm. So I will copy John and we'll go from there.
On to old business, we don't know who's appointed yet. When did they decide they're going to next year, you said, in January?
After the first, it would be after the first of the year.
It's
So
too
we-
late for anyone to apply.
So we know Kathy Hunt decided against it.
That was what I was told. She decided she wasn't interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it too late for people to apply?
I don't think so.
okay.
And but we are not allowed to, are we
To
allowed to post about it?
I don't see why we can't.
Okay, I thought
We did
there
post.
was something, like, no, like our
Oh,
personal.
yeah, I don't think that it hurt, we can get in trouble from posting.
I would imagine as long as you get somebody recommended by the end of the year.
Yeah,
It's
and they would need to contact.
They
the
send
town
their,
council.
they send their information into Gina and she gives
Okay.
it to the same
Exactly.
board, so. I can post it, I'll
But
post
that
it.
Kathy.
Yeah. Because I know we
She just
took one-
decided she didn't want to do it. Maybe she got a lot more going on. I don't know.
There was a lot going on in that meeting too,
Yeah.
so I feel like that may have,
Probably not the best meeting.
yeah, I mean, yeah.
I mean, I think they're like hard for SCN and it's a vote and everything going on right now. It just seemed like it was definitely a conflict of interest. I mean, she would have to recuse herself from every SCN.
Yeah,
Yes.
And that's like our biggest thing that we've had over the last 3 years.
Now,
hard.
not to seem ignorant, I have not heard likewise any update from Stephanie Johnson. Is anybody?
She definitely is showing us.
She's
She
still
is.
in. That's still in. Gotcha. Perfect.
Well, that should not, because that was definitely a a heated,
Yeah, that's definitely different than we typically are. Do we have any other old business or?
Well, let me give you an update on the signs that they never get. For historical. Recently, the state of Indiana Department of Transportation, I guess, they've redone their application form. It's very intense. I mean, they want measurements of everything. I looked at that thing and thought there's no freaking way I can do this. So I sent it over to Rocky Sparks. And he said he could probably answer a lot of the questions for me. So he's got that now, but this week with the weather and so forth, he probably hasn't had any time to.
Yeah, it's not
focus
urgent,
on it.
right?
So we are working on it still, so,
Appreciate all the work on it. for this
Oh,
position.
yeah, no problem.
Just to, again, thought I had driving in this evening, any changes to our material billing, so our cost or anything? Because, I mean, I know it seems like steel and all these materials, they fluctuate like crazy. I mean, have they come back and said, hey, you've got, do we have a deadline on the original quote to say you had to sign by a certain date in order to take advantage of that pricing?
I don't think you did.
I don't,
No, and I thought it was very reasonable. We were all.
yeah, I don't think that, I don't think they give a date.
On the, it should, here's what it would
Here's
cost.
what- yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that, if I didn't know when that quote was from, so I didn't want to go back with, something from May and we're headed into, next year and they're looking at going, oh, yeah, well.
It might fluctuate a little,
little
but
bit.
not.
I don't see it
Okay.
fluctuating that much.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. Again, just a thought I had and I thought I'll bring it up when we're talking about it. Okay.
We also have, it's Janet and Kathy's last session.
Oh, no.
So thank you. You've been here through everything.
6 years.
I know, it's been totally crazy. It's been 6 years.
It's crazy, but I've enjoyed it and I have enjoyed the people that are on the board. We have some great people on this board, so.
We were grateful for both of you.
I loved it too, but we travel a lot and
We all want to get to that place.
Yeah.
where we-
Oh, that's wonderful.
How would you happy if I get to the place I could travel all the time? Well, we appreciate both of you. We'll miss you and I'm sure we'll get some great new people too.
you guys have my number.
Yeah.
I'd like to do that.
I was in bed.
Already, so, all right.
We only got one help.
Do we have anything else that anyone wants to say? No? Do you have a motion to adjourn?
No.
Second?
Me.
All in favor?
I just.
Thank you for coming.